12 more days until Cyberpunk 2077 comes up. What's up everybody, welcome back to another Cyberpunk news and gameplay video. Today we have some more stuff for you guys, of course, including brand new extended gameplay footage showcasing a ton of cool new scenes and some cool stuff that you might want to know of. We also have a ton of questions being answered. I'm pretty sure that a ton of you still have a ton of questions about the game. Well, some of these have been answered thanks to IGN, and finally, is this going to be the most adult theme kind of game that we covered here on this channel? I'm pretty sure it is, but we will discuss this and more in this video. So let's jump right in, and as always, if you enjoy it at any point, don't forget to leave a thumbs up on it. By the way, if you're into game discounts and want to buy games cheap, go ahead, check out my links down below. We're running a giveaway for the month of November, and bonus points, there's also a Black Friday event on the Instant Gaming website, and again, big discounts all through the weekend up until Cyber Monday. But let's begin with, of course, some of the details that you might want to know about the game. I've seen this question popping off a lot. What happens if you play the game on the base PlayStation 4 or on the Xbox One and then transition into the new gen of consoles? Well, CD Projekt Red has you covered, so if you start playing this game on the old gen of consoles, you will be able to continue playing it on the corresponding next gen consoles, and here is basically what you need to do. So if you're on the PlayStation console, simply use PS Plus subscription to upload and then download your save files onto the new system, or otherwise simply use an USB stick to transfer them manually between the two units. And this also kind of goes the same for the Xbox. You either upload the save files to the cloud and then download it onto the new console, or otherwise use a hard drive or something similar to that to transfer them manually between the two units. But let's talk about the brand new gameplay. There's a ton of new footage thanks to Famitsu over here. They have posted actually an extended gameplay video of the launch trailer that we had about a week ago. So I'm not sure if you recognize some of these shots that we had in the background while I was talking, but there's a few of them in there that actually caught my attention quite a bit. And yeah, it's really awesome to see that there's at least a few extra seconds for each of the scenes that we saw in the initial gameplay trailer. But I do like some of these. There's a new one that we haven't seen before, at least not that I remember. Like there's this shot right here where V throws a weapon into one of these goons' head and then immediately switches to the pistol and unloads it into his body. So that looked pretty badass, but not as badass as this scene with one of these scrappers being absolutely annihilated with a katana, like head spinning, hand being chopped off. This is all kinds of crazy right here. And yes, there are some complaints about the melee combat, but personally I just love when you're able to just fully fillet someone like they are some kind of delicacy. But I mean, this is maybe just me. Finally, there's also another one with one of these scrappers. I think that this is one of the scenes in one of the outskirts of the city basically, but we can see a really cool finisher animation right here on one of these goons being absolutely destroyed by the Mantis blade, and it seems that there's also an enemy Netrunner in the background that is trying to actively hack into V, so it looks like a really interesting encounter. And by the way, speaking of Mantis blade, we do have a really interesting shot over here of a Mantis blade item. So apparently this footage is caught on the PC. Basically, yeah, you can attack enemies by just using your left click on the mouse and just slice and dice your enemies with swift, deadly slashes. But Mantis blades deal physical damage due to the blade's inherently fast attack speed and combos. They can rapidly deal devastating damage, granting a higher chance to dismember the enemy, very effective against an individual target. And of course, it has two empty upgrade slots, and we know that this is a rare kind of item right here, but that is pretty much it with the equipment. So this is slightly different than the one that we had in the initial trailer, but not too much because it's the same level, the same character. We just see a bit more information on some of these new items. But speaking of new stuff, here is another extended footage, and this is the reason why I said that this might just be the most adult themed game on this channel. And of course, sex apparently is is going to be everywhere in Cyberpunk 2077, according to Tom Marks from IGN, that was able to clarify a ton of the stuff about the game after playing like 16 hours of the game, and also answering some of the biggest questions like a day ago or so. So he went over a ton of details. Apparently you might want to play with that nudity turned off when you're near your family and whatnot, in case you don't want to raise any suspicion, or maybe you might want to isolate yourself in a room if you are playing, and like especially visiting the gentleman's club, if I might say so. So I mean, yeah, quite a ton of theme stuff, but it's not like all in your face, it's not like all smut and whatever. There's going to be a ton of jokes regarding this, there's going to be a ton of sex related jokes, a ton of missions involving this. So apparently there is quite a bit regarding yeah, adult theme kind of content in Cyberpunk 2077. But let's talk about some of your other questions that I'm sure many of you are still asking. So one of them was, are the streets really as empty as they seemed in the trailers? Because some of these shots kind of seem to feature really empty kind of spaces, like there's nobody inside. And according to Tom Marks, it seems that that was mostly an issue that he only noticed in the trailers, but not when playing the actual game. So obviously he was able to confirm that when playing the game there were a lot of people in it, especially in the busy market areas, as you would expect, and it really feels like it is a very populated kind of world. But on the other hand, when out in the outskirts, or even more so outside a city, especially since yeah, there's a desert, the concentration of NPCs and people walking around obviously is going to be much lower, which kind of also adds to the diversity of the environments that you will encounter in this game. Another one was, how accessible are the interiors, since obviously verticality is such a big thing into Cyberpunk, like a ton of really tall buildings is what we saw so far. And according to him, yeah, that's not going to be necessarily the case, like not all interiors are accessible. He also went ahead and said that many of these interiors might be locked until you kind of go in and do a mission that brings you to that interior. So that's also a part of it. But again, it makes a ton of practical sense to not have every single bit of every single building being lockable, since that, yeah, that would probably be quite a bit of a performance hit. On the plus side, he did mention that there were barely any loading screens from what he witnessed. Basically, he only witnessed loading screens a couple of occasions, so basically when he would die and had to reload, which was also pretty fast, and also when fast traveling, that would also be a given, but on the new gen it would probably be almost instantaneous. He did mention that you might want to quick save a lot in this game, since yeah, a lot of your choices will influence the outcome of everything you're doing in the story. So probably there's gonna be quite a bit of quick saves coming in Cyberpunk 2077. Another one would be, how impactful are life paths, especially for the RPG fans out there. And life paths, for the most part, he wasn't able to fully determine that, since he only played for about 16 hours, which is very little for the amount of story there is in Cyberpunk 2077. But even still, according to him, the life path determines the very beginning of the game, where each life path has a very customized intro, and from that point on, things kind of merge into one. So like, yeah, like the story kind of becomes streamlined, but not all of it actually, because after that he continues to say that he got very different dialogue options depending on his initial life path choice. Like for example, he played as a corpo in one of his playthroughs, and every time he talked with another person in suit, like especially a higher up in the corporate life, it made the conversation much easier for him, and it would have probably brought a much different result if he were to be playing with a different life path and interact with the same characters. So it's very likely that this is going to be the same with the other characters as well, but this is only for the first 16 hours. We don't really know the full extent of it until somebody goes in way deeper into the story and plays for a lot longer. But yeah, just don't expect 3 different games for each 3 separate life paths of your choice just because they are an option. That's not going to be feasible, and I think that that is a sensible remark to make. But yeah, that is kind of it with the details so far. Let me know down below, what life path are you going to choose when Cyberpunk comes out? Are you planning to play different ones, or are you going with one and just trying to kind of complete everything and going for 100% completion with all of the secrets, the content, main story, and the side missions too? In the meantime, thanks so much for watching. As always, if you enjoyed this video at any point, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like on this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.